It's Sunday, October 25th, 2020. This is All About Your Benjamins and your weekly mixtape and week in review video. First and foremost, I want to wish a big happy birthday to Thomas Copeland, my colleague at Harmless. Today is his actual birthday. So he should be watching these as a part of what we do and work together as a team. And just want to wish him a happy birthday. Hit him up on Twitter already, included in the newsletter to clients this week. And we'll be able to celebrate it tomorrow with him in the office with Darlene as well. So Thomas, if you're watching, happy birthday. Now, let's get to the headlines that may or may not be impacting your financial plan and portfolio. A few headlines, as you can see, if you're checking this out on allaboutyourbenjamins.com. First and foremost, we had the final presidential debate. I did not watch it, but I did check all of the highlights, lowlights, whatever you want to call them. Followed along on Twitter throughout the course of the night just to see what was being said. And I, for one, am ready for Election Day to come and go. I'm actually going to be trying to vote early this week just so on November 3rd I don't have to worry about getting in there and actually have some client meetings. So got to find some time to vote beforehand. But this will be a pretty big election. The numbers already are very high. I think I saw we're on pace to have the highest turnout with voters since 1908. Very interesting. And a lot of headlines about some things going on with different states with throwing ballots out because of the way they were sent. So definitely going to be an interesting election when we get there. And the weeks following are going to be just as interesting as well. I don't think we're going to know for a while the true turnout of this election. So it will be very interesting, probably history making coming up pretty soon. But the presidential debate was one of the big things this week, but the market didn't really seem to be impacted by it too much, and neither should you and your portfolio or your plan. Let's move on to the next one. The economy is doing very well. The conspiracy theorist in me, which is very, very small, is just always wondering when there's big things coming up like an election, are the numbers on these things tweaked for whoever's in office? And this is not with this year, just every year it always seems the numbers seem to get a little bit better right before an election or a big decision to be made. And I always just wonder, are things being withheld? Will they be adjusted in the future to not be as good as they are? But for whatever it is, hopefully these are accurate numbers. And at the end of the day, I believe people are good. I believe that we are not being misled. So these numbers are really true, but can't help to think, man, it so is convenient that the next two things we're going to talk about all look real good leading up to the week of the election. And again, no matter who is in office, I would still be thinking this. So it's not candidate specific. It's just the way I doubt Washington sometimes and politics. But anyways, the number. So the U.S. economy grew fast. I think I saw that it was up 28% in the third quarter, but that does not offset the 31% decline that we had earlier this year. So the U.S. economy is on pace to shrink at 3% this year, but all things given with what's happened this year, that's not as bad as it probably could be. And also, we don't really know. There's still ticking numbers up of COVID, as we're going to see here in a moment. A lot could still happen before the end of the year that could throw those numbers off or speed it up. So we never really know. This is a time throughout the course of the year. It's a snapshot, and that's what the numbers are. The good thing is the U.S. is doing well. The bad thing is Europe is not doing as well. And part of that is attributed to them slowing things back down. They are shutting things down. They're preventing groups more than 6, closing businesses back up because their numbers have ticked back up, and they're trying to be proactive again. It will be interesting to see how that plays out. A couple of weeks ago, maybe last week or the week before, we talked about the difference between the South and the U.S. versus everywhere else. The South opened up sooner. Their economies were doing better much sooner, but we'll have to see if that was the right decision or if it caused problems once we look back and see how this all plays out. So again, we're taking these snapshots in the moment as we go along, and we try to make these narratives, make these decisions based off of it, and we really won't know. So take these numbers, take these snapshots, if you will, with a grain of salt, but just understand what's going on and why things are happening in the moment. I mentioned well, we'll get to COVID here in a second. The next metric that is a good number is the unemployment number. So first-time claims, we're at 787,000. We've been hanging up in the high 8s for the last couple of months, over 1 million before that. So that was a good sign. And then reoccurring claims were down over 1 million claims as well. So it looks like people are beginning to go back to work. Maybe those are furloughed employees being brought back, or people finding new employment and new opportunities elsewhere. So the unemployment picture looks a lot better and trending in the right direction. Again, is this a convenient? Will the numbers be reassessed and adjusted upward so that it wasn't as good of an improvement? We don't know. We'll take this again. I believe that we're given the right information. I don't believe we're being misled, so we'll take those numbers as they are. And it's a good thing. That means more people are going back to work. That means businesses may be reopening. My hope is that we don't see these numbers change and go back down the wrong direction with the number of COVID cases ticking up, which is the next piece. So at the time of this article being written, there were 71,000 new COVID cases, and hospitalizations were getting higher again. I think I saw another number in the last couple of days since this article was written on Twitter, about 80,000 new cases as a new high being seen in the U.S. So we're seeing the COVID cases go up. I have a friend who actually was on an All About Benjamin special podcast earlier this year who works in healthcare at a hospital, and he said that yes, the numbers are ticking back up, but the death rate is not as high, and he attributed that to, at least in his hospital network, to younger patients coming in and getting sick. He said those that have the pre-existing conditions, the ones that are at greatest risk, are still struggling and still having a lot of deaths in that area, but the younger and the people who are coming in that do not have those ailments are getting through this and not needing to get on ventilators. So right now he said that they're very nervous and cautious because they're seeing the numbers tick up. They're seeing the ventilator use tick up as well. And again, this is one hospital's survey, if you will. So don't run around saying that I said that this is what's going on. This is one person's story from the hospital that he works at, but it's worth noting that it is kind of in line with the numbers that we're seeing across the country. So, so COVID is ticking back up. Doesn't appear to be as deadly, I guess, as far as the number of cases, but it's because people who were not getting infected before, or we didn't see getting infected before, are now showing up in these numbers. We've had some people in our neighborhood test positive, and finally knowing people personally who are getting sick with COVID, but none of them have had any horrible or bad symptoms with it. So ticking back up, so I think that just be responsible is the right course of action for that. And finally, ending on some more good news, at least in the economy, home sales is at a 14-year high. So we're getting joined by Silas right now, so a little bit of background noise. So we'll end this real quick. Hey, you want to say hi? Hey, say hi to everybody real quick. Say hi real quick. All right, so we'll finish this up. Home sales, 14-year high. We just sold our townhome. We've had our townhome for the last 12 years. It was our first house, and we finally sold it. We got 3 offers the first day we listed it. So housing, as you probably know in your areas, is doing very well. That's a good thing. And that'll be good for sentiment, because when people see that their houses are doing well, they feel better about their situation. Who knows what the payout will be in the long run, but low interest rates, low demand, people feeling good about things right now is good for the real estate market, which is good for the economy. So that's it. Again, we've got Silas in here real quick. Hey, come say hi to everybody. Say hi real quick. Say hi real quick. Look at the camera, wave. Say hi. Hi. Oh, you're going to be a stinker? All right. Well, can you tell everybody bye? Bye. All right. That's it for this week. Have a great week. We will see you all in the next episode.